Thanks, ladies. So yeah, we're going to talk about bringing balance to mind, body, and spirit with food. And this is going to go a little bit beyond your traditional nutrition talk, right? Like we've heard it a million times. Oh, eat healthy, eat this, do that. And there are so many diets out there. You got paleo, you've got the keto, you've got GAPS and FODMAPs and all these different things for, different varying degrees of what it is that you want or deal with. And it gets really confusing. And so what I like to teach is how to do this, because then it doesn't matter really what diet you're on. You can listen to your own body. So we'll just moving here. So what I've got for you guys, if any of you use your Facebook Messenger, get your phones out and get handy. I'll give you a couple of links where you can access some of the materials. If not, let me know any of the stuff that I share with you. There's a different kind of link that I can probably just tell you what that is at the same time, because they're very similar. So then the questions, I'll do a little bit of questions at the end if you have any. So if you are interested in downloading these presentation slides so you don't have to take notes or just to reference for later, you can type this into your web browser, and then it will trigger a Facebook message. Now, if you don't use Facebook Messenger, you can type in this exact slide with a 2 at the end, and it will take you to a website where you can then download it. So I know not everybody uses Facebook Messenger. So then that way you've got this you can refer to. It will have all the pertinent information. Did everybody get their pictures good? Okay. So yes, I am Candice Mallicoat. I have dubbed myself a medical mindset expert because after 20 years of watching people heal and then having to heal myself, I know exactly how important it is to have a good medical mindset, even if you're not sick. You have to really consider yourself medically on a daily basis because we take it for granted, and then we're kind of forced to down the road with any kind of illness. So my pride and joy is the Chronic Illness Recovery Clinic. Laurel here is a part of that. I hope you don't mind I call you out on that. It's a 6-month coaching program for women with autoimmunity and other chronic illness, and I absolutely love it. I'm changing that up, and I am on a mission to really help as many women get into that by the end of this year as possible, which I'll touch on that at the end. So I spent 10 years in traditional medical, the traditional medical field and cardiac. I was a certified nurse's aide, a telemetry technician, and so I got, a really good eye of the medical field then, and then holistic experience as I've had to heal myself because the medical side of things failed me. And doctors pretty much told me I wasn't sick when I had a Lyme disease diagnosis. So I went holistic, and it saved my life. I am an NA/MA certified Ayurvedic digestion and nutrition consultant, which is more about really helping you eat for your constitution, because not all healthy food is healthy for everybody. Then I've done hundreds of hours of research, and then as Tyrell said, over 7 years I've healed from or managed well over 12 different diseases, illnesses, and infections. So I've learned a whole lot along the way. As I've learned all that, the successes I've had, so every day I had 40 symptoms for several years, 40. I could count them all up every day, dizziness, muscle pain, muscle weakness, etc. And as I learned the things that I teach in my 6-month chronic illness recovery clinic, I took those symptoms down to 2 or 3. Some days I have none. I do still manage ongoing infections. I keep Epstein-Barr virus in remission, and then some discoid lupus, which is autoimmune. So every now and then, if those have issues, I'll have some symptoms, but I pretty much feel normal now. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I mean, for those who've been sick, feeling normal is like a joy, right? So if I've increased my daily level of functioning, I don't need to nap anymore unless I want to. I've regained my self-confidence because when, and if you guys know anybody that is ill, it really just takes your self-esteem away. You feel more like a patient rather than a person. And then I just reclaimed my life. So just to get a gauge, how many in this room currently have a physical condition you're dealing with? Oh, okay, it's all of you. Or you probably know people too. So so that's just kind of what I've done for my own life with it. I've just, I've done karaoke competitions, I've traveled, and I've done a lot of that with massive amounts of pain, but I refused to let it steal my life. And this is what I'm trying to teach women, is to thrive and be who they are despite the illness that they experience. So, so let's kind of get into this. So how food affects the mind, right? So there are some studies. I have these at the very end. If you want to go and read those, I have links to those and the actual names of those studies. So the gut-brain connection. Are you guys familiar with the gut-brain axis that science has been studying a little bit, maybe? So what they're showing is that the brain can sometimes cause digestive issues, I mean, think about when you're stressed, right? Your stomach kind of clenches up, right? Then if you've got issues like leaky gut or food intolerances, that then can cause a lot of these mental symptoms. I was apparently not allergic to, but I had an intolerance to gluten for many years that caused massive rage. Like if I would have continued down the path, I probably, could have turned into a very violent type person just because there was so much rage, and everyone had me on antidepressants, but come to find out it was gluten. Like that was it, And so to me, that was huge, and that was before science really started coming out about it. So the first study I want to talk about is, excuse me. So they've been able to link probiotics and fermented products to parts of the brain that actually are responsible for processing emotion and sensation. They had women they were doing dairy, milk products with some probiotics, and they were finding that they had a lot of connectivity in these regions that process that emotion and sensation. So, of course, that made a whole lot of sense to me. Then a second study shows that ingesting probiotics is really helpful for anxiety and depression. So healthy volunteers were given 2 different types of prebiotics and were assessed on emotional processing and secretions of their cortisol for about 3 weeks. And they found that their stress response lowered, and they processed positive and negative stimuli a lot better. They were able to deal with things a lot easier with this pro and prebiotic treatment. Then the third study shows the anti-anxiety effects of increasing the microbiota in the stomach. And they have found that people that have psychiatric disorders, a lot of them do have bowel disorders too. They have some kind of connection there, and they're doing a lot more research on that. And so it's huge. It really is such a part of our society. We've got, our babies that eat all this candy, all this Halloween candy, right? And red number 40, that dye, they've shown causes symptoms of ADD and hyperactivity. And so reducing those has helped a lot of my friends with their kids with those diagnoses. So I tell everybody, if you suffer with ongoing anxiety and mood swings and these types of things, you've got to start looking at your gut. And I highly recommend that everybody do some kind of a cleanse or a elimination diet to see what types of foods might be causing some of this for you. A huge amount of my patients start feeling better once we make some of these small changes in the things that they eat. And then again, here you get some brain fog or sleepiness after eating pastas, heavy foods. And then, again, just you feel alert after consuming coffee, right? That's hitting that brain, but you've put it in your stomach. So some of this you may already be aware of, but I always like to reiterate it because I see this in our society so much. I go to the grocery stores and I swear I'm just like this down the aisles because I know how so much of the food that's sold is just degrading our health on a daily basis, but the results aren't immediate, and so we're not catching it. So how food then affects the body now, this, we all are kind of aware of this. You've got weight issues, of course, if we're eating, high sugar and carbs or overeating, disease and illness. These specific diseases over here are related. A lot of them are related to the diet too, and they find that diet really helps with these issues. And then, you've got your intolerances. If you have any kind of a food intolerance, milk or gluten, nightshades, you do have some form of leaky gut. It's dysbiosis is like the medical term for that. Not eating for your body type. So this comes into the Ayurvedic training I've done. If you have a certain body type, like me, I have a lot of fire energy in me. That's just how I was born. But if I eat a lot of spicy foods and foods that create heat in the body, it makes me more hot-tempered. I get flushed more because I already have a propensity for heat. And so, healthy food, we're thinking, oh, this is great. But yet it might be kind of counteracting some of the energy you've got in your body. And we can talk about that too if it's something you're interested in learning more about later. And histamine was something I learned about this year, which once you have leaky gut to a big enough point, your body can't process the histamine because you're lacking in the enzyme DAO and I don't know what it stands for. I never remember. And that, usually things get to that point when it's pretty bad. And then it causes a leaky brain, which was scary. I had a complete healing crisis last year because of all of this and didn't realize the degree, because I took antibiotics last year and didn't go through a protocol after to heal my gut. So again, if you take any type of antibiotic, do probiotic therapy for 2 to 3 solid weeks after to repopulate your gut. Not just some yogurt for a couple days. Like, go to your health food store, get something that's a very good product for probiotics, and take that for a good solid 3 weeks, and that's going to really help undo some of the damage that the antibiotics can do. If you can avoid antibiotics, by all means, you know, find other things if you can, but sometimes they are a necessary evil, right? So, of course, here we've got food and how it can affect the body in a negative way there. Then spirit. So it's really, spirit's unchanged. The spirit, in my opinion, just stays the same. But when your body and your mind are all toxic and clogged, and you calcify your pineal gland, so it's not actually right here, it's further back in the brain, but things like fluoride, drinking water with fluoride, heavy metals, different things like that can actually calcify that pineal gland. And if you decalcify that and kind of work on some of the meditation and things like that, mindfulness, then of course the spirit can come through a little more easily, but it gets harder to do that. And when your mind and body are messed up, you can't, your higher self just can't come out. It can't really express itself very well because you're dealing with all of this cloudy mental thinking and body symptoms. And so it really is a mind, body, spirit approach, in my opinion. Let's see. So I'm supposed to finish up at 12:45, right? Yes. Okay. Thank you. So we're actually moving along pretty well. Okay. So your body is talking. Are you listening? Now, some people think that, okay, well, my body will talk to me when it's in pain. That's true. That is your body saying, hello, hello, pay attention, right? But your body's talking to you in a million other ways every day, and we're often so busy and just not paying attention and not tapped in. And you know, when your body's talking to you, it brings this awareness right to the now. It takes the focus away from all the external stuff you're dealing with, so you can really listen. You can actually understand what your body and your cells are telling you. And you know, then as you develop a mind-body awareness, a really good one, when you go to the doctor, you can be very clear with your doctor. This, it hurts here, this is when it hurts, this is how it hurts, because your doctor can't do that. The more informed you are on what your body is telling you, and you can share that with your medical providers, they can help you better. Really, most doctors get really frustrated when someone comes in and they're just like, well, I don't know, I just have a pain. Okay, where is it? Well, it's somewhere over here. What does it feel like? I don't know, it hurts. You know, like that doesn't help them. And I like to talk about this because I first learned from Deepak Chopra's teachings many, many years ago. I was reading, I think it was his book, The Book of Secrets, that had a paragraph in there, and he explained it, and it just clicked for me. He said, your cells in your body are all doing what they got to do, right? They talk to each other, they have their jobs, they pass on duties to the other cells. They all work awesome together. They come together and fight viruses. And they all know how to communicate, but yet here we're walking around being like, I don't know, it's just my body. I don't know what's going on in there. And I'm sorry, but that is kind of a cop-out, because we can get back in touch with that, and we can get into that communication loop. And I know it sounds really extreme and abstract if you're brand new to the concept, but you can hear your cells speak to you. They will send you different feelings and emotions and messages. And the more that you practice the exercise I'll be walking you through today with food, you'll start to pick up on these little subtle cues and then be able to determine and interpret if these signals mean, yeah, my body really likes this food, or like, I don't know about this. This might not be so good for me. For instance, when I did this exercise that I'll teach you, I drank coffee to try this out, and I got this weird buzzing at the top of my head, and I didn't feel very grounded. My body was like, please don't give us coffee. That doesn't make us feel very good, you know, which is probably good that I couldn't find any out in the lobby today. So, but when you have illness, you can choose to do this or not, but you're really in a position where you're forced to have to face and feel and listen. But what a lot of times what people do is like I say, they take that for granted. They think that they're separate from all of this that's happening on the inside. And you know, for instance, I've gone to the doctor and he said, well, we can do this treatment and this treatment. What do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I sit with myself for a minute, and I now know to pick up on these signals. And every time my cells want me to do something, it's like, yeah. That's what I feel on the inside. They're like all excited, right? And when something isn't going to serve me, I get a very clear like, no, it's hard to explain, but this is what you'll be able to do here in just a second and really interpret maybe kind of what's going on. So I do believe that we, can talk to ourselves every day. I'll get in the car and say, okay, cells, let's be energetic today, right? How are you guys doing? I mean, it sounds silly, but it really is essential. And they're finding epigenetics, the science of epigenetics is finding that we can change our gene expression and behavior simply with our thoughts. So I've been taking that to heart. So I have a conversation. Sometimes I come into Jesus talk with my cells, but we're all in this together, right? So now what I want you to do is this gut speak exercise with your snacks. This is something that I recommend that you do just frequently for a while to really get a sense, and do it with different foods. So when you are home, I recommend that you do simple foods without a lot of flavorings, because you need to try to learn what foods your body, like what the signals are. And if you've got a lot of herbs and things in a food, you're not going to know what you might be reacting to. So start with something simple. Now, you'll take a few cleansing breaths and kind of close your eyes and check in and just note, how is your heart beating? How does your head feel? Do you feel any weirdness anywhere, any heat, any pressure? Just notice how you feel before you start eating. Then you take one bite of food, and while you chew, you're kind of noting like, okay, I'm chewing this, and I'm, my glands are releasing, or my stomach's churning a little bit. I don't know if my stomach wants this food, right? So you kind of notice what's happening then. And then you swallow. See how it feels sitting in your stomach. Close your eyes again. Notice your sensations. And then 20 minutes after eating, you can kind of go in and felt sense again to see if any changes. Now, you can take this up a notch, and you can look in the mirror, look at your skin, look at the whites of your eyes, and see how that changes. Because with one food, sometimes you can notice a difference in, like, you might be more flushed, or your eyes might turn a little, like the whites of your eyes might go a little yellow. It's a little bit more of an up level. So kind of just start with these sensations. You might not feel anything at first. There are some foods that I don't feel anything, and I kind of take that as a signal that it's a safe food. So take a minute, and like I say, just take a deep breath, maybe check in with yourself. And then when you're ready, you can start with either the chocolate or the grapes, if you're allowed to eat those and you're okay with that. And what I want you to do is just to take one bite, so either one grape or half of the chocolate. And if you need to jot down your notes, how you're feeling, how are we doing here? 10 minutes, okay. Notice any sensations anywhere. Maybe your big toe itches. Maybe you get chills. Maybe you feel sleepy. And then you can take the other bite, continue to really sense, and when you're ready, you can move on to the next food. And then when you feel you're done, you open your eyes. So did anybody notice anything interesting? Yeah? Do you mind sharing? Do you notice that sometimes when you eat chocolate? Yeah. So, do you listen to that? Do you usually avoid foods that create that response? Yeah. So, well, I hope that no anaphylactic response will happen today. I'm like, but so like she said, a tingling in her throat. I never actually noticed that much. I just was, I would eat sweets and be like, well, for me, that means the sugar is not. That's not good for me, right? Anybody else notice anything kind of different or subtle that might be new? Yeah?
I felt slightly nauseous. That's weird because it was the grape I took. Not, I mean, I don't know. It's gone now, but I was kind of like, oh.
Mm. Yeah. Now, interpreting it is kind of a different thing because it's really an individual basis. You know, if you feel that, then like next time you eat grapes, try it again, see if it happens. Because it could just be today. It could be what's happening today. But the point is for you to do this frequently and really listen. You know, really start listening. You know, when I did the coffee, I knew that was never really good. I never felt grounded. But the dark chocolate, I'd never really paid attention, and when I had eaten it, it felt like a heavy blanket was just being laid on top of me, and I got really comfy, you know. And so for me, it's like that's a very grounding food for me to eat. But the coffee making me feel all weird and, you know, woozy is not. So this is a practice. This is something that you know can do. You can sit down before dinner and just do it for a few minutes before you take some bites of vegetable or rice, but. So many of my clients get caught up in what diet am I supposed to do, and I don't, you know, and I'm like, you get to decide that for you, and with your doctors, of course. But that knowing, listening to that body, it's, you know, and doing any muscle testing. If you guys do any muscle testing, that as well is a helpful tool with this. But this can take a while if you haven't learned, you know, haven't been at a place where you've been able to kind of listen to that feedback after food. Within just a handful of times of some really good practice, I guess, with this, you might start to notice some differences with some things, and then just see if something doesn't feel right. Maybe avoid that food for a while and see if you notice any difference. So, kind of hard to go into too much of it in just a short class, but I hope I gave you guys a little snippet that you can take with you and go and do. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Because I talk really fast.
What do you mean by leaky gut or leaky brain?
So leaky gut or dysbiosis, a lot of conventional doctors will just blow it off and say it doesn't exist. But all your holistic doctors are like, yeah, no, it does, and they can test for it. But what happens is over time when we eat like a lot of sugars or alcohol or antibiotic use and medication use, the internal lining of the gut starts to break down. And so, you know, once the microbiota is more flourished with bad bacteria. Like a lot of us have issues with yeast and candida, but we don't even really know it yet, you know, because we don't make the connection. But microorganisms like that, like every single one of us has some parasites too. It's just how strong your immune system is to keep them at bay. So they cause damage and little rips and tears in your intestinal tract. So when you eat food, the waste and food, some of the food particles and enzymes actually leak out into your blood. They cause the joint pain. Now, leaky brain, when you have leaky gut bad enough and you're eating and you're not absorbing your food very well and you've got all these symptoms, if it's bad enough, all of those toxins and food particles and things can cross the blood-brain barrier, which then causes a lot of psychiatric problems. And so, like a lot of crazy other symptoms too. And so I'd never heard of leaky brain, but it was just basically to the point that the gut was bad enough that it started to affect the brain even more. So does that make sense? Yeah, and so foods like your glutamine, some of your bone broths and collagen and stuff help go back in and stitch those things up, but yet a protocol should be followed, because if you go back, you know, if you do that for like a week and go back to eating your regular diet, you know, it won't stick. And so if you think it's an issue, I highly recommend finding like an actual gut health coach that you might want to work with. So yeah, it's, thank you. So, yeah, did you have a question?
Yes. What you mentioned pre and probiotics. What I've heard of probiotics, never heard of prebiotics.
Prebiotics is just a different formula. It helps feed the good bacteria. So the probiotics, from what I understand, the probiotics are the good bacteria that you need, but the prebiotics feed them. So you want to feed your good bacteria, not the bad bacteria. Your sugars, your alcohols, your medications and hormones and stuff can feed the bad bacteria if you've got it, and that just, does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that can cause some.
You should do both.
Typically, yeah. I know that some people that have doctors that help them with that, like there's usually a phase. They'll do pro first, and then they'll do pre, or vice versa, or whatever. Yeah, I don't treat that to that degree. I get my coaches for my own gut stuff because it's a little too intense. And to be honest, I tell people we're kind of all a society of addicts. We're all really addicted to some of the foods and things that we're eating, and it can be hard to break that through. So, but it's possible, and lots of healing can come from it. I wouldn't have healed to the degree that I have now if I hadn't been focused on some of the gut healing. So play with this. Take this home. Play with some different foods. See what you can come up with. So this is your free download for today. Some of you might have already gotten this at my table if you spun the wheel. But again, if you don't use Facebook Messenger, just put a 2 at the end of that, and it will take you to the website. The Facebook Messenger is great if you use it just because it's kind of like an ongoing thing. If you want to get updates from me, that's a way. But this, I love the most about this is the fact that you can eat clean on a budget. Figuring out how to really get those clean foods without having to spend more, just learning a little bit more about what to look for at the grocery store, and selecting the foods that are the cleanest. So that's what you guys get for today. And then, where am I here? So because I am on a mission to help as many women, kind of manage their lives and health if they're at this place to finally take that leap from now to the end of the year. I'm just doing a really mad push. And so if any of you are interested in this, or you have other friends and people that you know, please pass it on. I'd love to just have conversations with people totally for free. I actually called it a strategy session, but my husband made everything say wellness assessment call, so I just switched it because it is a strategy session. And no, I'm not going to sell to you unless you're interested in knowing more. I am really gifting this to you as an intensive hour of like, what are you stuck with? What can I help you with? I'll send you more downloads if needed. We'll really just kind of dig into it and then just try to help you get clear on maybe what your next steps are, whether it be with me or something else. Again, I'm pretty laid back. And so you can book a call here. This does not trigger the messenger. This takes you straight to my scheduler. So if you just type this in, you guys can book a call at your convenience. Just love to get to know people. And then last, so there's one more thing you can do if you want. If you want to tag your friends, if you know people that really could use some help just gaining kind of control over what they're dealing with. It's Embody Wellness Coaching on Facebook. That's my business page. Again, my husband went this morning at 3 a.m. with me and was changing some of this. But this part of the post should remain the same. If you find this post, now he changed it to say type free gift, but then it sends you the gift automatically. You can do that if you want, and you can pass it on to your friend. But if you tag your friends in this post, they'll see it and may type it in themselves and then get it automatically, or I can reach out to them. And so I'm going to send them a free video training and a bonus gift on your behalf. If you want it too, you guys can have all of it as well. But again, I'm really just trying to spread the word and just do this push to get as many women as help as possible. I have different options for finances and things like that too. So it's not about, getting as many women in so I can make bank, right? It's how many women can I help before the end of the year. So that's what I have for you guys. This is just what a few of my clients have had to say. Heather's been like my star student. She was really excited about the intuitive part of healing, kind of knowing how to understand what her own inner healing and higher self looked like. And so I've had several people go through different types of programs. I've been coaching for about 2 years. And so any questions, I have a table if you guys want to come and ask me anything or spin my wheel of luck. So that's it. That concludes it for today. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you being here.